Adam Silver wants 10-minute quarters for NBA games.
I am a fan of 4 10-minute quarters. I'm not sure that many others are. I mean, putting aside what it means for records and things like that, I think that a 2 hour format for a game is more consistent, sort of modern television habits. I don't think people in arenas aren't asking us to shorten the game, but I think as a television program, being 2 hours, that's Olympic basketball is 2 hours. College basketball, of course, is
Yeah, but if
40.
you like it, I'd say it has kind of a little bit of a push there.
Yeah,
That clip is courtesy of the Dan Patrick Show. As a starting question, if you as a sports league are constantly changing who you are, then who are you? Over the last many years, we've seen the NBA engaged in all sorts of changes and proposals for changes. They've been tinkering, they've been guessing and checking. Even going back as far as when David Stern was commissioner, we saw the NBA three-point line actually shortened. We saw the ball that is used for in-game play. The ball was actually changed. They had to change it back. Of course, the three-point line has been moved back. Recently, we saw the NBA Cup, and so a new tournament resulting from the Cup. We've seen play-in teams added to the playoff bracket. There have been all sorts of changes. And then recently, of course, we also saw the way the game was refereed change. And this wasn't officially acknowledged, but we saw a dramatic shift in the way the game was called. And I can't remember if that was last season or the season prior, but the NBA is constantly changing their product. And I think it's working against them, and they're putting themselves subject to the whims of the consumer behavior. And here I'm talking about the people who like basketball, are fans of basketball, and sports fans in general. So we just see this constant changing. And I think the NBA needs to establish who they are and stay with that. And so, of course, there can be some fringe changes. But I think what Adam Silver is suggesting is such a drastic change. And he casts aside, he says, putting aside what it means for records and things like that, the statistics and the historical context of the game is extremely significant. And I think even the fact, if he's suggesting this, then that means that he's suggesting this for an actual change. This is something that he's putting forward. He doesn't say this just because it's a thought he has in his mind. He's putting this forward. He's putting this as a suggestion out there. And I think he's completely missing how important statistics and historical context are for the game of basketball in so many regards. But also, there's this fact: the NBA game is 48 minutes, and it currently occupies a 2 hour and 30-minute time slot. Is there no other way that you could lean out these minutes other than taking from the actual gameplay? And so this is what a lot of Reddit comments for this thread, which I will link to in the description, what they're already getting at. Why not limit timeouts and replays? And then someone says that's when they show commercials. Then we have a 2 hour format could be done with less commercials. Yeah, and so I think that's somewhat unrealistic because they're not going to take out the commercials. But if we're looking to lean out the game, we could easily do this by just looking at how slowly some of the gameplay unfolds when the clock is stopped. So one idea here is with the constant replays, with the refs reviewing play, and that's what someone else here had as replays. Yeah, the replays are dragging on, and I don't know how this isn't something that hasn't been figured out long before this discussion. It's like, hey, we need to speed up the game. People aren't going to wait for a referee to sit there and figure out a replay for 5 minutes. That's ridiculous. Or games start on time. This is another common complaint, yes, because games typically don't start until 10 minutes after the scheduled time. This is the thing which baffles me most about NBA games. The only other sport where I can think of where the event does not start on time is when it's boxing. So continuing on, yeah. So or you could tell refs to stop spending 3 hours trying to determine a foul. So yeah, this is a common complaint, and it is something where it's very obvious. It's like you could just simply take that out. it's only 48 minutes. It'd be really easy to fit this into a 2 hour window. It's just that, now Adam Silver is looking to actually take away the game. And here you have, these are people who are commenting on NBA Reddit. So they've already found out about this. This is your target audience, and they are, completely opposed to this idea. Yeah, it's just a really bad idea. And I think in general, the NBA, so here someone says, incredibly stupid idea. I think the NBA, and someone says, or games could start at their scheduled time. Yeah, that'd be easy, right? That'd be an easy way to take 10 minutes off the time, and we're already at 2 hours and 20 minutes. From there, we could easily take another 10 minutes off by having a clock on referees to decide how long, or to determine the correct call on a replay. So there, we're already down to a 2 hour and 10 minute window, and from there, it's an easy fix. Besides something to take such a drastic measure as to take 2 minutes off of each quarter and 8 minutes off of the game. There are so many wide-ranging. There's so much. There are so many effects that this would have on the game and the way that the consumer interacts with the game, and there is so much potential downside. People might be so put off by this change that they stop watching NBA games altogether. So there's an understanding that the consumer behavior has changed, but there also needs to be an understanding that you can't continually change the game just because that you're always trying to match and fit what other people are doing. The game needs to stay the same, and the NBA should stop tampering with the game. And this is actually something I've already talked about multiple times in videos, is just keep the game the same, but improve the way it's carried out. And so if Adam Silver wants to fit a 2 hour window, he could certainly do that without changing, without dramatically taking away from the commercials, and without going so far as to changing the game. I understand what he's getting at, in that these other games have shorter quarters, but they've been like that. That hasn't been the NBA. And so there's just so much downside here with limited upside, given that we could easily alter the way the game is carried out. This is just a horrible idea from Adam Silver. And I think in general, the NBA needs to start looking at this as, why are we changing this? And why are we constantly trying to figure this out? How can we improve upon our existing product rather than changing our existing product?